I'm not a sex worker, but I'm a survivor.
I'm not a sex worker, I'm a survivor.
I'm not a sex worker. I'm a survivor.
I'm not a sex worker, I'm a survivor. I started doing this after I completed my senior high. That was like in 2014. I started when I moved to Gaps, so it was like the first time I came. I was with my friend actually, so it was more of like a fun thing that I didn't even know what I was getting myself into, but I met this other guy. I can't say his name, but he stays in Block 6. He was like, he had money. So my friend and I we were just partying, clubbing, and then we met him. He bought us drinks and alcohol, and then we went to his house, back to his house. So that's my friend. I think he had like a experience with him before, and that was the first time I met this nigga. So we were like, oh, chilling vibes, and so it was like about time for us to go to sleep. So my friend is like, you're gonna have to sleep with this person. I'm like, why? No, I don't want to. He's like, he'll give you money. I'm like, oh really? He's like, yeah. So being as you know how when you're notorious you are young and you get enticed by money, fancy stuff, because you know you have to like buy an outfit for tomorrow, look cute and go pop the clubs, and yeah, so I was like, oh okay, sure, why not? So yeah, and then we did the deed. At first, it felt gross receiving the money, but at the end of the day, I'm like, oh well, girl, you did this and you deserve it, so no need to be ashamed of it. So I think maybe that's when it all started. They having to know that you can have sex with a person and then they can give you money in return. Because I think that was literally my first time. So yeah, and then it just went on and on and on and on.
I'm not a sex worker. I'm a survivor. Moving to Gaborone was challenging for me because I had been born and raised in Francistown, and that is the only place I knew. That is the only place I was familiar with. I've never been to Gaborone before, and it was quite a horrible experience for me in the sense that I was admitted to come and study here. So back in Francistown, I was living with my stepmother and my stepsister. Her child is a teacher here in Gaborone. So I was supposed to come live with her here in Gaborone when I was to start school, but that didn't happen because I had a misunderstanding with my stepmother and she ended up throwing me out of the house. By that time, my father was away, he was out of the country, and I had nowhere to go. My mother was also in Francistown, like my biological mother. She lives in a different place in Francistown. I couldn't go to her because I had 2 days to be in Gaborone. Like the schools were to open in like 2 days, and I had no accommodation. I had nothing, so I had to come to Gaborone. I had to hustle accommodation. So I didn't know where I was going or who I was going to when I came here. Like after my stepmom threw me out, I had like money in my savings account because I've been working before. So I used that money to buy a train ticket. So I bought a train ticket from Francistown to Gaborone, and I was on my phone the entire trip. I was on my phone talking to random guys on Facebook so that one of them can accommodate me because I was stranded. I was going to a different place. I was going to a foreign place and I practically knew no one there. It was so traumatizing. So I was crying in the train, crying and texting at the same time, praying, begging the Lord for mercy, begging the Lord to help me find a messiah, find a rescuer, find somebody who can help me because I was really in a bad situation and I desperately needed help. So I was talking to four boys on my Facebook, and had all of them had promised to accommodate me, and I had told all of them that I was in a train on my way from Francistown to Gaborone, and they were supposed to pick me up at the bus station. I wasn't sure what I was doing because it was all new to me, but I knew I was desperate, and as the saying goes, desperate times call for desperate measures. So I had to do what I had to do to survive. So when the train got in Gaborone at around 5, luckily one of the guys was already there. He was already there waiting for me at the train station. Well, he was a friend from Facebook. We've been talking for months before I actually like asked him for the favor so he can accommodate me, and he didn't mind at all. The problem was he was staying away. He was staying very far from Gaborone. He was living in Mankodi, and it's a bit far from Gaborone, but I didn't mind because I was desperate, and he had actually shown effort that he wants to help me. So I actually went with him to Mankodi. Like I said before, he was a friend. He was supposed to accommodate me as a friend. Little did I know that he wanted like a favor in return. Like, he accommodated me on the basis that I had to like give him sex whenever he wanted, and he hadn't like spoken to me about this before. He hadn't told me that he wanted sex from me so that he can accommodate me. So I just went there because I knew like the plan was, it was a friend helping a friend in need. So when I got there, the first 2 days he didn't tell me anything, and on the third day, that's when he made it very clear that he wanted to sleep with me. I told him that I couldn't sleep with him, and he made it clear that it was his house, his rule, so I had to sleep with him. I had no other choice because I wanted to secure accommodation. I didn't want to be thrown out, so I had sex with him. I'm not a sex worker, I'm a survivor.
I'm not a sex worker, but I'm a survivor. I was back from a village. Yes, I was admitted to school, and my problem here was accommodation. So I was like no families or any relative around, even friends. My friends were back home. So I found a guy in Facebook. This old man was showing some interest in me. So I tell him all my problems, that I was like desperate. I don't have families, like as I said, I don't have accommodation. So this guy promised me that he'll give me accommodation. So after all, yeah, I went to his house and he accommodated me very that same day. After that day, he was like, want to have sex with me. Then I was so scared. I was so scared because it's our plans or aims was not meant for sex. Then the old man forced me to have sex. Then I just felt free just because I have that problem of accommodation. Then I just felt and have sex with the old man. Like the man required me to fall in sex because he was saying horrible things like there is nothing, there is no where someone can live without gaining or losing anything. So he forced me, so I was like, no choice. then I just fall in sex with that man, because if I lose that point, my life will I don't know, but I end up having sex with a man because I want accommodation. We have sex, and he gave me that money. Then after all, I take the money, and next month then I pay my rent. Also, I noticed that this thing can also really help me, because um I'm I have a little brother who is calling. So my mother has passed away. I used to help this guy, so that my brother, so that he can go to school. Yeah. The very first time again, this guy, he brought his friends, and I was crying, screaming, even don't know the way, don't know what I can do, because he brought his friend and give me some drugs, and tie me to the bed, and I was like, oh, yeah. Then I was like, if I don't do this thing to his friend, maybe I will lose my accommodation, and there will be no way I can have accommodation, because I don't have any relative here in Gaborone. So I end up having sex with this guy, and they give me 2,000 pula, so that I won't report them. But it was cool. To me, it was cool, because they give me money to do, and they pay me that money, so that I can use the money for accommodation in Survivor and as a worker, because I can use this thing to satisfy my needs or achieve my goals.
So the second time again, it was, I think this time around, I'm the one who kind of literally initiated the whole thing. There's this other, it was a married man. He approached me on Facebook. So he wanted to he inboxed me and saying, "You cute and I like your pictures, blah 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 blah, and I like to see you." And then I'm like, "What's in it for me?" Then he's like, "No, we just wanna fuck." And then I asked him, if I'm fucking, if we're gonna have to do this, what am I getting in return? He's like, "What do you want?" I'm like, "I want money." So it's like, oh, he's like, "So you sell yourself?" I'm like, "No, it's more of like a bargain. You want sex, I want money. So isn't it like a give and take thing?" So it was like, yeah. So I think that was the second time, and yeah, we met with this man, and then yeah, I think starting from there, I think he's the one that I was consistent with. Even after today, we still talk, and he still gives me money, because he knows I would say we built a relationship, a foundation for that. I would say my other experience, I was in Joburg. It was, when was that? 2015, 2016. Yeah, I was in, where was I? We were in Taboo in Sandton. So I was with my friends, my gay friends in South Africa. So we were just having fun. It was lit where we were, and there were a couple of guys in the same club. They were eyeing at us, and then my friends were like, since you are Botswana, you are the girl from Botswana, you should people like Botswana here. I'm like, "Oh really?" They're like, "Yeah," and those guys are checking you out because you're new from here. They don't know you. You're like a new face. I'm like, "Oh, okay." The three guys, I think there was three guys, and I was with two of my friends. So we hooked up. I think at the end of the club, at the end of the night, we all mingled up together, and then we went to the place. It was in Midrand, I think. Yeah, it was in Midrand. So when we got there, Omugele, they know this thing, and now I'm just there like, okay, I know, but I'm not confident enough to like literally ask money from that side. So it's like kind of a, oh, okay, I want this guy. There's this other cute guy in the group. He's really cute and colored. So I was like, oh, I want this one. But no, apparently the friend was the one who was interested in me, and he wasn't interested in me. So it was like a kind of a flat thing. So fast forward, we get to my friend, we get into the place. Everybody's just busy. Go to it's again. It was a whole. It didn't turn out to be like more the hookup into like just two people. It was like more the group sex. We ended up like having a group sex, and it was like lit. So in the morning when we left, these niggas gave us like a whole pile of cash, and then I'm like, oh, okay, so apparently this thing really works, you know. So that's when I just discovered I'm not a sex worker, but I'm a survivor.
As a person who has sex with random people, HIV testing is actually one of the processes I normally have to go through, because at most times I find myself exposed to contracting the HIV virus or other sexually transmitted diseases, because during hookups a lot of things can happen, a lot of mistakes can happen, like a condom can break, like somebody can manipulate you or coerce you to having sex, like unprotected sex with them, even though it wasn't what you had planned to do, because you can get to somebody's place uh, with a plan of having sex with them, like protected sex, and when you get there they can actually offer you like a lot of money or double the amount that you charge them, so that they can pay you, so that you can have unprotected sex with them. So the first time I had to go through the experience of HIV testing, I had hooked up with this other guy, a soldier. Like it was supposed to be like we are supposed to have protected sex, but when I got there, to my surprise, the guy planned to have unprotected sex with them. Like we had an argument about the issue, because it was actually all new to me. Like I haven't had unprotected sex with anybody before, and I knew the consequences very well of having unprotected sex, and I didn't want to find myself in such a situation. So I had to think about it, because I really needed the money. I was desperate. I needed to buy food. I needed money to go to school. So, and there was no way I was going to get money from, because I had spent weeks trying to hustle. I spent weeks trying to hustle for a hookup that was worth it, a hookup that was going to pay money and make my problems disappear. And this guy was the actual solution to my problems. So I didn't have time to think, and because I was desperate, I ended up agreeing to his offer. So I had unprotected sex with him. During the process, I was so uncomfortable. I even cried like midway, like during the activity, because it wasn't something I was planning, like I had planned to do, and thinking about the consequences really scared me. But we had sex till the end, and he gave me my money. Uh, because I was terrified of what had just happened, I decided to go to the hospital the next day for HIV testing. I didn't know much about it, and that's where I was advised that I was in the window stage and I had to wait for 3 months. so that I can come back to have like a proper testing. Like there was no use for me testing during the window stage, because obviously my results were going to come out as a negative. So I had no choice but to wait for the 3 months, and during that 3 months it was the most stressful time. Like it was really 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 hard for me, because I had exams at school, and on the other hand I was stressed with the fact that I didn't know my HIV status. I had slept with somebody without using a condom. You can imagine how that was. So I was I was really young at that time, and I was exposed to such a terrible thing, a terrible situation, and I was helpless. I needed help, but there was no one to help me, and I had to agree to that offer. So I ended up having sex with him. I waited for that 3 months period, and I went back for testing, and luckily my results came out as a negative. That was the time I learned a lesson not to ever do something like that. No matter how desperate I am, I would rather find somebody who would offer to use protection. I'm not a sex worker, I'm a survivor.
In all these ups and downs, when when you're gay and you get to like experience all these ups and downs, you also have to make sure that you are safe, practicing safe sex and not involving in any of those things that could endanger you. So yeah, I'll say I also had my couple of share of endangering myself, I would like to call it, because I think I had the intention to stop it, but I couldn't because I got caught up in the moment or I got lost in the moment. So yeah, I remember this other time I slept with this other nigga, and we were just fucking the whole time, and then we'd kind of run out of condoms. So and then he was like, I don't have any condoms anymore, and then I was like, but we can't do anything when you don't have condoms. He's like, but I'm safe. And then I'd be like, are you sure you're safe? Don't have any. And mind you, this nigga was, I think he had a girlfriend. So, and I'm like, oh, okay, fine, let's just try it. Because he was like, this is the first time he's trying it with a gay guy. He's never done it before. And he's safe. He's got tested a couple of few months ago and he's fine. Oh, okay, fine. We had sex. Fast forward 2 weeks later, I literally developed some rash, and it was so fucking painful. I literally didn't know what to do. I was just there like shaking, and I'm just there like thinking. The last time I had sex was with this other nigga, and I think that was the last time I literally had unprotected sex. And where would I be? Is this an STI? What is this? Or maybe it's just an infection or what? I was literally so lost. So I went to like the hospital. I went to find out it was an STI. Yeah, I'll say, all the time when you like have unprotected sex or you end up having sex and then the condom blasts and then you have to go to develop belly, you have to get tested. That's like the most scariest part, because you have put yourself in that spot. You have literally risked your life doing that, because sometimes as gay people we tend to not commit. We don't do commitments. We end up sleeping with different or multiple partners because we enjoy it, and it's not about sleeping with one person. We tend to think, we have the stereotype that sleeping with one person is not enough for us, but at the end of the day we don't know that we are endangering ourselves. And yeah, so every time I think I'll go for like an HIV test, it'll literally suck. I remember the last time I went for HIV test was like last year, after like getting involved, and I think this was like a wake up call for me. That's when I literally like I went for an HIV test and I was nearly, I think that was like a wake up call for me, like I'm saying. So I had sex with somebody and I think maybe they had the disease or whatever, they had HIV. So at least I'm just lucky that I went there on time. So I got to get treated and then I started prep. So ever since then up to now, I've been very conscious with what I do and how I practice safe sex because I've realized that putting yourself in a situation where you know you are the one who put yourself, there's nobody else you can blame, but you can only blame yourself. So yeah, right now I would say every time I go for an HIV test, I'm fine. I feel okay because I'm undergoing prep. I'm using prep, so it's something that gives me like confidence in myself that oh okay, even though you have had 1, 2, 3, at least you are protecting yourself. You have measures put in place so that you can survive as a gay person. But yeah, so at the end of the day, I would just like to let you know guys that I am a survivor and I'm not a sex worker.